The Pittsburgh Penguins will face their biggest test to date tonight when they head to Sunrise to take on the back-to-back defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. We're going to get you ready for that game and more right after this.
You're Locked On Penguins, your daily podcast on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to another edition of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Patrick Damp. You can follow me across all social media platforms at synonym for wet. Joined as always by the one and only Hunter Hodes. You can follow him on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. You can give our show's Twitter account a follow at LO_Penguins. You can also find us on Instagram at LockedOn_Penguins. And of course, as always, we appreciate you making us part of your daily routine. Don't forget, we're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. And if you follow us on YouTube, make sure you've hit the notification button. That way you can be among the first to know when we drop our daily Monday through Friday episodes. Before we get going, this episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Hunter, there is no two ways about it. The Penguins have their biggest test of the season so far, and while it has been good vibes, high vibes, whatever you want to call them, at 5-2, the Penguins have surprised a lot of people, but I'm going to steal a little bit of your thunder here because I know you that well. You can only play the schedule in front of you, but the Penguins have not played many bona fide playoff teams or even a contender yet. And tonight, despite a slow start, despite some big injuries to players like Tkachuk, to players like Barkov, it is still the Florida Panthers. They are still deep, they are still well coached, and they're coming off a highly emotional victory over the Boston Bruins where Brad Marchand made his return. So, Hunter, we've had fun. We've enjoyed it. Doesn't mean our expectations are changing, but we're going to learn a lot about the Pittsburgh Penguins tonight.
I know it's early in the season. This will only be the 8th game of the year, but it feels like this is a big opportunity for the Penguins to kind of make a statement or send a message saying, hey, we're a lot better than basically anyone thought we were going to be, at least to open the year. So this is a huge game. You look at the schedule so far, and you're right, Pat. You can only play the teams that are in front of you. You look at the teams they played, not really any bona fide playoff teams outside still of Los Angeles. I know the Kings have had a slow start to the season, but I think in the long run, they're going to be fine, and they're going to make the playoffs out of the Pacific before they probably lose again to the Oilers. But I still have them as a playoff team. Outside of that, the Sharks are not very good. The Ducks, I still think, are a year away. You have the Rangers twice, who I think are a middling team. And then the Islanders kind of the same. And then the Canucks, they're 4-3, but I still have them on the outside looking in right now for a playoff spot. So you're facing not just a bona fide playoff team. You're facing a bona fide Stanley Cup contender that has won the last 2 Stanley Cups and is still one of the best teams in the conference. Yeah, I know they come into this with a 4-4 record. They won their first 3 games. They lost their next 4. They beat the Bruins in Boston off of a great game that was, by the way. And you saw the tribute video to Marchand. He was crying. Bruins fans were giving him a standing ovation for what it felt like an eternity. It was a great game after watching some of the highlights, but this is their biggest test. You're going up against a team that is great offensively. They know how to shut it down, and they have a world-class goaltender in Sergei Bobrovsky, who is also great in net. So the details are especially going to be important for this one. And if Ben Kindle and Harrison Brunick both play in this game, and I think they will, we'll have to see. This will be their biggest NHL test yet to date as well, Pat. You're going up against a team that, A, pisses you off, and B, plays like rats. It's kind of the same thing, but they know how to get under your skin. So how do Kindle and Brunick adjust to that if they both play? That's going to be something that's really interesting. But you know what you're going to get when you play this Panthers team. They do the post-whistle stuff. They try to get you off of your game, And if you do that, if you feed into it, they're just going to take advantage and crush you. Penguins can't afford to do that in this game.
Let's begin there. So we're recording this Wednesday evening because we want to make sure that we get this out early so you guys can get ready for Thursday night's game. So excuses for us if we go back and forth between tenses of tonight and tomorrow. We're kind of operating on a different schedule here. But let's begin with what you just said about the young guys. Let's operate as we're recording this as if they are going to be in the lineup against the Panthers. This is where they're going to get their welcome to the NHL moment. There have been moments here and there with them, whether it's finding out they have a little less time than once thought, or they make a little bit of a play that's a bit behind, or they get caught in a weird area on the ice. This is going to be a true welcome to the NHL game for them because of everything you said, but also this is a Florida team, and this has kind of been a hobby horse of mine the last couple years. The Panthers being absolute psychopaths gets all the headlines because they're known for it. They're known for being physical. They're known for being chippy. They're known for being dirty. They are very much Raptors testing the fence for the Jurassic Park reference. They want to find out how much they can get away with before they cross a line, and they've learned that. But at the same time, it is still a fast, talented, very good hockey team. They don't do many things poorly, if anything. So for guys like Harrison Brunick, for players like Ben Kindle, you're going to have to learn what the NHL is like tonight because you're going to take some lumps. You know, whether it's Brad Marchand, whether it's Sam Reinhart, whether it's Sam Askevich, Greer, Ekblad, you name it, they are going to poke and prod at you. If you get a shot on net and Sergei Bobrovsky stops it, you're going to get a glove in your face. You're going to get your collar pulled. You're probably going to get cross-checked. You have to learn that this is the price you're going to have to pay. We can complain about it all we want. We can complain that it doesn't get called, but we got to operate in a world that we're in, not the world we want to be in. So for those two, it has to not just be a solid game with the fundamentals, with everything else they do. They have to keep an even keel throughout the game.
I agree. And another big key for me is slowing down that top line that Florida has with Verhaeghe, Bennett, and Reinhart. Reinhart has one of the top releases in the league. Verhaeghe, when the moments get the biggest, he's usually always there to deliver. He has for the last couple of years with the Panthers. And then Sam Bennett, he just got a boatload of cash, and rightfully so. He was absolutely outstanding in the Stanley Cup playoffs. His career has totally taken off ever since joining the Panthers. You especially know what you are going to get when Sam Bennett is on the ice. And then outside of those guys, you have Marchand, who has been great this year. 3 goals, 8 points in 8 games, 8 points, leads all Panther players, and he's been a Penguin killer throughout his career. In his last 20 games against the Penguins, he has 11 goals and 19 points. So always got to know where number 63 is. Anton Lundell, I still think is one of the most underrated players in the entire NHL. He's their second line center right now. When that team, by the way, is fully healthy, he is a 3C. He probably could be a second line center on over half of the teams in this league. That is how good Anton Lundell is. They still have Luosterainen in the top 6, and even though he only has 1 goal, he can still strike at any time. You go down to the third line, Evan Rodriguez, former Penguin. He can also hurt you when needed. He has 2 goals and 4 points in 8 games. They also have Jesper Broquist on that line. You have AJ Greer and Jona Gadjevich on the 4th line. And Gadjevich is also someone that is not afraid to get physical. So you have those 4 lines. You have Forsling, who I think is the best defensive defenseman in the league. It's very hard to get chances when he's on the ice. Ekblad is still doing his thing. Seth Jones has had a nice little renaissance on the second pair with the Panthers. And then again, man, you got Sergei Bobrovsky as the starting netminder, who is, I think, one of the 5 best netminders in the league still right now. So when you combine all of that, plus their special teams usually, even though they don't have Tkachuk and Barkov, this is still going to be a really tough matchup with how much the Panthers can throw at you.
It really is, and you have to be aware of where everybody is on the ice in this game because you ran that down. They're missing 2 of their biggest pieces, but they're still incredibly deep.
Yeah.
They are still incredibly talented. So You really have to respect all four lines, all three pairs. And I'll reiterate it again. You have to play with a ton of discipline tonight. You cannot get sucked in to all of the extracurriculars that they want to do, because not only are they going to make you pay for that, they are going to make you pay for it on the scoreboard as well. So you have to be willing to laugh, skate away, and just turn the other cheek. As much as we want to see this team fight back, we want to see them fight back between the whistles. We want to see them be able to handle that. And I think with the way this team has been disciplined this year, they have a pretty good shot of, at the very least, hanging with them. And we will talk more about that when we get back in our second segment. And we will do that right after this. So stick with us on the Locked On Penguins podcast. Before we do that, though, we've got to tell you about a couple sponsors, and we start with our first one, and that is Rougiet. Let's be real, making excuses doesn't solve anything, and we've all heard all of those excuses before. It's just stress. I'm tired. It happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support, and that is where Rougiet comes in. Rougiet.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. They make it very easy to get started. You get connected with a board-certified doctor 100% online, so you avoid those awkward waiting rooms where you're not making eye contact with anyone, and you don't have to worry about those awkward conversations with your doctor as well. And if prescribed, your treatment will ship to you discreetly right to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's all about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. So visit Rougiet.com. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNHL to get 15% off your first order. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNHL so you know we sent you. Rougiet, stop making excuses and start making moves. We got one more to tell you about, and that is FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer that you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. FanDuel makes watching football so much more exciting, especially when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or you love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes your game day experience that much better. So what are you waiting for? Head to FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Back on the Thursday edition, like I said, we're recording this on Wednesday evening, but it is our Thursday preview edition for tonight's matchup with the Florida Panthers. We spent a lot of time in the first segment, Hunter, talking about the Florida Panthers. Now let's focus on our squad, the Pittsburgh Penguins. One thing they have to continue into tonight, I hinted at it at the end of the first segment, is discipline. If you watch a lot of the Penguins' wins this year, they are playing a very structured, very disciplined game. They're making sure they're in the right place defensively. They are doing the right things on the forecheck, and it's leading to chances. Against a very fast, very talented Florida Panthers team, you cannot improvise. You cannot take things into your own hands and try to do too much. You do that, the puck's going to end up in the back of your net. You try to stray away from it in the offensive zone, you're either going to get plastered by one of their defensemen because they do love to hit, or, surprise, here's Sergei Bobrovsky, who is, like you said, one of the 5 best goalies in the league. So you got to stick to what you've been doing and to what has been bringing you success so far.
Yeah, and especially around the net front where the Penguins are doing a really good job clearing that area so that Archer Shelovs or Tristan Jarry can see a lot of these golden A chances that they do give up sometimes. I do think the Penguins are doing a little bit of a better job this year compared to last year in terms of, clearing out that space, letting the goalies see these chances. And you're going to have to do it in this one against the Panthers, especially when Sam Bennett's out there. He's a top net front presence. He is not afraid to get greasy around that area. He's been doing it ever since he went to Florida. Marchand is kind of the same way, even though he's a bit smaller. He's not afraid to get his nose dirty around the net front too. Verhaeghe, Reinhart, you can keep going down the list, even though Kachuk and Barkov are not out there. So that's another big key for me. Another one, the way they keep playing off the rush and in transition with the way they're defending those chances, got to keep doing that as well. I've noticed the first 7 games, they're not giving up as many odd man rushes or a lot of these chances off the rush with poor turnovers at the blue line. You got to keep this one up against the Panthers because they will really make you pay with those type of chances if you give them especially when it comes to Marchand, because especially against the Penguins, man, I feel like I've seen him score so many goals off the rush going back to his days in Boston. So they got to keep taking care of the puck around those areas, around their blue line, in the neutral zone, et cetera, et cetera. I think Tristan Jarry is going to get the start in this one. I know we're recording this the day before, but I think they're going to continue this rotation, though if he does go to Shilov's, damn use it is, I wouldn't be surprised. But, the Penguins played the Panthers really tough in all 3 games last year. They won the game at home, really fun one to watch. They lost the next 2, but those 2 games, man, were still a ton of fun, and they were also really close. Even though there's a brand new staff in place, I expect nothing different in this one. I think this is going to be a really close game considering what we saw from these 2 teams last year.
I'm right there with you on that one. They have always, especially as the Florida Panthers have begun their ascent to the top of the league, they have been able to hang right with them. Here's one thing I would like to see Dan Muse change, and obviously by the time you're listening to this, you'll probably know. I did like the way Caleb Jones rebounded from his early part of the game in Vancouver. He went on to play a pretty solid game. And while I don't want them to try to fight fire with fire, because you do that against the Florida Panthers, you're playing directly into their hands. You are playing a game that they are the absolute best at, and nobody can match them. But I would like to see Jones swapped out for either Dumba or Clifton for this game. Clifton specifically because while I don't want to subscribe to the old school hockey mentality of, you need a deterrent, you are going to need more of a physical presence on your blue line. And when you look at the options available right now, I want to see Brunick play in this game. I want to see what he does against a top tier team. Letang is Letang. Carlson is Carlson. Witherspoon has been a revelation early on in the season. I enjoy Ryan Shea's game. I think he's earned another look, and that kind of squeezes Jones out. But I would like to see Clifton in the lineup because if for no other reason, you brought it up. The Panthers are very good in front of the net. They are very good at creating traffic. They're very good at creating havoc in front of the net. I don't know if Caleb Jones is the guy to clear a net front path for either Jarry or Shilovs. I would like to see Clifton be able to do that. And this feels like a game that would be a really good one for him to make an early stamp on the season.
Honestly, either him or Dumba, but if I had to pick one, I would probably go Clifton as well. When he did play earlier this year, he was pretty physical. So if you want him for that, I'm totally go to that because he'll be able to match at least some of the Panthers' physicality. The Penguins as a team, they're not built to fully match the Panthers pound for pound with how physical Florida is, but you can at least take a little bit of chunk out of them if you put someone like Clifton in there. I'm not sure if Muse is going to do that just because of the way that Jones played after giving up that mini breakaway to Evander Kane. I felt like he really settled in after that. But if he wanted to, and he wanted to play Clifton on his offside, and he's eventually going to have to get some minutes this year just because they're going to try to flip him at the deadline, I do think this will be a good game for him. And honestly, I'd say the same about Dumba. I don't think he was that good in his first game this year, but I also think if you want to use him for a physical presence, I think that works too. If I had to pick one, though, I would go Clifton.
And then let's keep it on that side of the puck for the Penguins tonight. Again, let's continue to operate under the assumption that Dan Muse is going to keep the goaltending rotation going. He's going to keep going back and forth until one of them really picks up the ball and runs with it. This will be a massive test for Tristan Jarry. He has been pretty solid to start the year. We talked about it on our Wednesday show. I talked about it saying that I have constantly said Penguins goaltenders over the last decade plus have been at their best when someone's nipping at their heels and you have that competition in net. Tristan Jarry can make a huge statement against the Florida Panthers, even if he doesn't win the game, even if the Penguins don't win the game, but he puts in a solid performance, makes some timely saves, keeps them in a position to potentially win. That would do a lot of good for his case to remain the 1A goaltender if he wants to be it.
I agree. And again, until one of these goalies wants to really take the reins, you're going to have to see each of them match each other. Shelov's had another great performance against Vancouver. Okay, Tristan, can you match that? Can you potentially, have another 920, 930 game? Can you even have another shutout potentially, for example? So I really want to see if each goalie can keep matching each other because, going into this game, the Penguins have a combined 920 save percentage from Shelov's and Jarry so far this season. That is well above average goaltending in today's NHL. And that's one of the biggest reasons why they have started out 5-2. That keeps up. They're going to keep staying in a lot of these games. So I can't wait for this one, man. I'm really stoked to see how they match up against Florida.
This is going to be a really, really fun game. Hopefully, let's not get our expectations too high only to watch the Penguins get slapped down by the back-to-back champions. But with the way they have been playing to start the season, I am very, very interested to see how they match up in their first big test of the season. That's 7 o'clock tonight, Thursday night in Sunrise. You can catch the game on Sportsnet Pittsburgh, and we will obviously be back on Friday to recap this game. But now that you're ready for Penguins Panthers, we got to have the big conversation here on Locked On Penguins that a lot of us in Penguins land are currently having. Is this team for real, or is this just a mirage? We'll dive into that question when we come back right after this. Before we do that, though, we got to tell you about our final sponsor, and that is Game Time. Hockey season is officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real, getting tickets can be a total headache. Between waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump just before checkout, it's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is sit inside PPG Paints Arena and cheer the Penguins to a win. That is where Game Time comes in. The app that gives fans the advantage, it's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NHL tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. You guys know I love Game Time. Hunter's about to roll his eyes because I'm going to say it. I've used Game Time for Penguins games, Pirates games, and yes, WWE Monday Night Raw, baby, at PPG Paints Arena. But I'm a big fan of it for no other reason. You get the upfront price in the app. You're not hit with those annoying checkout fees that you didn't see when you clicked your seats. You know what you're paying right up front. Zone deals, total game changer. You pick your section, Game Time picks the seats, you save some money. And right now, you can find NHL tickets for under $25. Who doesn't love that? So take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go, Game Time. Wrapping up the Thursday edition of Locked On Penguins, I'm Patrick Damp, running alongside my good pal Hunter Hodes, and let's just get the question out of the way, Hunter. Is this team for real, or are we just looking at a mirage and a new coach bump? I've got my thoughts. Hunter, take it away.
It's too early to tell. I've loved the start so far. This is the most fun I've had watching them since the 21-22 season, but we got to see how they stack up against some of these bona fide playoff teams / cup contending teams to see, okay, either A, this could be something, or B, maybe they've just been beating up on some middling to bad teams so far. The thing is, the process is very much there. You look at the underlying numbers, expected goals are strong, high danger chances when you look at other teams around the league, very strong. Scoring chances, shot attempts, all fairly solid so far. can it keep up for a lot more games? That's going to be the question. And another question, Pat, is the goaltending going to keep this up? We've talked about it a lot. Again, these two goalies combined have a .920 save percentage. It's only been 7 games. If that does continue for a large stretch of this season, and that is a big if, they will be able to stay in this race as long as they keep defending the way they have been defending in front of the net and they keep getting contributions from all 4 lines. But again, there's just still a lot of ifs. The vibes are awesome right now. This is the best vibes I think this team has had in a little bit, but I got to see it against some top teams, and it starts really tonight against the Panthers. The Penguins have an opportunity to send a message to the NHL saying, hey, we're better than basically everyone predicted us to be so far, including us knuckleheads on this show. So let's see if they can go out there and do it. They will play a bunch of other top contenders a bit later on this season. But
that's kind of where I am.
Go ahead.
And I don't want to hedge, right? Like, I also don't want to go full first take and have a 10 toes in hot take that I don't fully believe in just for the sake of the content. But you hit on something that has stood out to me. The process and the fundamentals are there. They're playing a sound game. And you and I said it in the opening segment. The NHL schedule is not a restaurant. You can't look at the league and go, sorry, this early schedule is undercooked. I'm sending this steak back to the kitchen. You can only play the games that are on your schedule. And they have done well in those games. And yes, tonight will be their first true test of the season because they're going to play a legitimately great team. But their goaltending has been better than expected. It really seems like the big guys on this team, Crosby, Malkin, Letang, Carlson, Raquel, Rust, they are bought into Dan Muse's system and what Dan Muse is bringing to the organization. I didn't have any expectations for Dan Muse. He was a largely unknown. We knew he was good at development because of his work with the National Development Program. He came highly recommended by a bunch of other organizations for his work he did on special teams as an assistant coach. But we have seen dozens of wonderkin assistant coaches that have this unbelievable untapped potential, and then they take the big chair and it doesn't work. Now, again, 7 games, their 8th is tonight. The vibes are high early. We have seen plenty of teams in recent memory rocket out of the chute. And you think, oh my God, where did this team come from? And then by December, January, we're lamenting their fall. But I also look at this. Along with the buy-in, along with the structure that they're playing, they're getting contributions up and down the lineup. They're getting some good depth scoring. They've got a lot of energy from the young guys, whether it's Kindle or Brunick. They've also got a bunch of young guys in Wilkes-Barre who are knocking at the door. And you can tell with the way some of these older players are performing, they know that Kyle Dubas and Dan Muse aren't just blowing smoke. They're not saying, oh, we're going to give the young guys a path. They're totally coming. These older guys know you slip up, you underperform, you're going to be on the bus in Wilkes-Barre, and these young guys are coming up.
100%. I mean, you saw Ryan Graves didn't even make the team out of training camp. They put him on waivers, and now he's down in Wilkes-Barre. They'll have to figure out that situation at some point, but right now, that is the solution they have. Dan Heinen, Pat, he came in as a veteran. He was trying to make the team. A few other younger players beat him out, including Philip Hollander and Ben Kendall, and they sent him down to Wilkes-Barre. He's doing well, and they'll also have to figure out a long-term solution at some point, but they have a solution, at least for now, and that's him in Wilkes-Barre. So if you see other veteran players potentially slack off at some point, Avery Hayes will come up, and he's had a great start to the season. Tristan Brose is eventually going to come up. I know Ville Koivunen is going to be coming up at some point because he's been lighting up Wilkes-Barre since being reassigned there. I actually would like to see him with Ben Kindle on the third line at some point. Hell, I'd actually like to see when Rutger McGroarty comes back, if they want to keep Kindle up past the 9 games, how about we get the full kids line and have Kindle with McGroarty and Koivunen on the same line? Wouldn't that be a lot of fun? You'd have to figure out some other things in the lineup, but I would have a lot of fun watching that line. If you still want to have Novak there as one of the wingers. You can interchange him as well. Maybe even move Novak up to the second line, for example, if Mantha or Brazeau stop producing. And with Justin Brazeau, I'm not sure that's going to stop just because he's lighting the league on fire, but they'll still have plenty of options. So this is still going to be, a work in progress throughout the year. But, as for, them being for real, let's talk around Thanksgiving. Usually that's a pretty good benchmark, Pat, for if your team is in a playoff spot. History says at that point you're probably going to make it. Same with Christmas, but Thanksgiving is like the first big benchmark where, okay, if you're in a playoff spot, you have a good chance of getting in. So I think this next month-ish is going to be really big in that department. So for me, it's still a wait and see. I'm still more skeptical, but prove me wrong. Like, they proved us wrong so far, winning 5 of their first 7 games. Keep it up, honestly.
Right. And the last thing I want to talk about, and we'll keep it brief because it's so big picture that we don't know what's going to happen. We may be 2 smart boys, but we don't have crystal balls. We can't see into the future, and we don't know what's going to happen. I know that there is a small level of not panic, but worry among some fans that, they're going to suddenly be good and go on a run and it's going to screw up the future plans. Guys, they still have a ton of draft capital. They still have a lot of prospects who are playing in junior or playing in college. And I'm not telling you that they're franchise players, because they are not. They are at best solid NHL contributors who can maybe be in a second pair role on defense or a top 6 contributor at forward. But you still have the big guys around. And it is the drum I will continue to beat forever and ever. We have seen now across not just the NHL, but across a lot of sports in North America, the old idea of a traditional rebuild of just scrapping everything and starting from scratch is way harder to do. And if you still got these elite NHL talents who are going to end up in the Hall of Fame on your roster, and you've got promising young players, having that good culture in place where there are expectations to do your best, to be winners, to achieve more, that is going to help those players grow. And eventually, whether it's draft, free agency, or trade, you can go out and get someone who can push you to that next level.
Right. I 100% agree with you. And they're still going to have a boatload of cap space this next offseason. Right now, it's still around $50 million. It'll be a little bit less once they get there, but right now it's quite a bit. So, hey, I'm just enjoying the ride, man. That's what I'm here for. I think that's what everyone that listens to our show / watches our show is here for. And keep proving us wrong at the end of the day. Like, I didn't see this start coming. So let's see what happens, man.
It's been a ton of fun. It's been better than expected. And you said it best. Let's just enjoy the ride. Let's have fun with it. And we don't got to live and die with every single game. And
Don't
let's
get too
hope
high and don't get too low. They came into this season with, let's say it, low expectations. They're surprising so far. It's been fun. But even with that, still don't get too high and don't get too low. Like, that's what I'll say about this.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And that is going to do it for the Thursday edition of the Locked On Penguins podcast. Hunter and I will be back on Friday to recap this one, as well as bring back one of our favorite segments, Fan Take Friday. Hear from you, take your questions, react to your hot takes, and everything else. So thanks as always for tuning in. For Hunter Hodes, I am Patrick Damp. We will be back on Friday.